Okay, I'm going to talk a bit about cameras. In this presentation, these little symbols I put here, because some of the things that I'm going to say during these presentations apply to DSLRs, and some of them apply to phone cameras, some of them apply to both. So that's the reason for these little symbols. The DSLR stands for Digital Single Lens Reflex Camera. So the place of the film is taken up by the sensor. Single lens means there's only one lens, so you're actually looking out the lens that takes the picture. So what you see is what you get, more or less. Reflex means there's a mirror involved, so the light comes in through the lens, bounces off the mirror, bounces around the pentaprism. If there was just a mirror there, the image would be reversed, so that straightens it out and then reaches your eye. When you take the picture, the mirror snaps up and the light goes straight, the shutter opens and the light goes straight through and hits the sensor. And there's more to it than that, which we'll discuss later. Phone cameras actually have some of the same features. They have a lens, which gathers and focuses the light. The sensor, which records the image. Both DSLR and phone cameras have an image processor, which takes the sensor data and makes it into an image. They have variable shutter speeds, which we'll talk about later, and variable ISO settings, which we'll talk about later. And instead of having a viewfinder like the DSLR has, the phone camera usually has just a little display screen. So again, what you see is what you're going to get. The disadvantage there is that it tends to be a little bit dark in bright light. So if you're shooting on a sunny day, it might be a little hard to see what's on your screen. I'm going to talk a little bit about features. Now, I'm going to talk more about these features. Phone cameras, the app that comes with the phone tends to be pretty basic. Everything's super automatic. It doesn't give you a lot of control. Been looking around, and one of the things that you get with your Adobe subscription is Lightroom Mobile. So if you download that onto your phone or tablet, it actually gives you quite a bit more control. And you can see here that we have a few options. Select DNG. I'm going to talk a little bit about RAW versus JPEG later in a different movie and later in this presentation. If you just I'll just go through these features quickly. Aspect ratio is the proportion of width to height. So 4:3 is pretty standard for point and shoot cameras. Digital DSLRs are usually 2:3, which means the image is 1.5 times wider than it is tall. Self-timer, of course, allows you to run around and get in the picture. Grid overlay actually puts an overlay over top, and this is a composition thing, which I will discuss in a later presentation. Touch focus tells the camera where you want to focus. So generally that little rectangle's in the middle. If you touch it with move it around, because you have a touch screen, it'll actually you can actually say, okay, camera, focus here. More features. Exposure allows you to override the automatic. So if automatically is giving you a little bit too dark, you can bump it up. Or if something is fooling the light meter even in manual, you can also bump it up. If you go down to the bottom left-hand corner where it says Pro, with Lightroom Mobile, you want to use the Pro setting. It gives you the most features. Seconds on the bottom there next to exposure is the shutter speed, which we'll talk about later. ISO, you can also set, which we'll talk about later. White balance. Auto actually sets you, allows you to focus manually. Reset takes you back to the defaults. So those are some features of Lightroom Pro, and like I said, it's an excellent control for your camera, phone or tablet